Hey everybody, welcome back to Sergeant's Talk TV. Big Mike here.
And Jason here.
Jason's in Tennessee still.
But I'm in Tennessee on a whole different ridge.
How is Tennessee treating you?
Finally drying out.
Oh, okay.
Been a wet first week. Last couple days has finally dried out, but we're settled in here in the Nugget and getting things done around the property that need to be done and spending time with Pops. Him and I have been able to take a couple road trips, and I'll throw a quick backstory for anybody who doesn't know and isn't following us over on the White Rock. Is Tara and I have temporarily, for an indefinite amount of time, moved to Tennessee. Her dad's got some pretty severe heart issues, and 3 of the 4 major arteries are completely blocked. And how he's still alive right now is the man upstairs control. So
Yeah.
we're here to help and spend time with him and do what we've got to do. So
Yeah. Well, our prayers are with him and your whole family. So, hey, did you guys get affected by that hurricane?
no,
Really?
actually, I didn't even know there was a hurricane going, to be honest with you.
Oh,
I'd seen somebody post on my Facebook that was down in North Carolina, and they're like, "Hey, we hope it doesn't hit." And I'm like, "There's a hurricane? Okay." We got here. Well, we got here last week on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So today's been officially a week.
yeah.
That we got here, and it rained for 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And then the last 2 days we've been with no rain, and it's looking like the next 9 won't. But we haven't, other than the heat and humidity, but that's pretty much across the board. So
Oh, wow. Yeah. Here it was 103 today, real temperature here in Oklahoma.
oh,
And yeah, it's hot in Oklahoma, but it could be worse, I guess. I don't know. I mean, if you remember back in the desert, it could get up to 130, but there was no humidity. It was
right.
just hot. Yeah.
I know that we, on a couple of the deployments, we took thermometers and they maxed out at like 140.
Yeah.
And we hit that. And I know a couple of them that we had like outside, kind of, they were in direct sun. It broke and popped the thermometer.
Right.
But I mean, that's direct sun. But like you said, desert, no humidity. I mean, 80 degrees with a lot of humidity could be miserable.
Oh, yeah.
As to where 130, it's still hot, but if there's no humidity, it's manageable somehow.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. It was the worst temperatures I've ever suffered through was at Fort Polk or Puke, Louisiana. And it was like, it would be I'd be up around 100 degrees, and the humidity would be at 75, and it just drains you, the humidity, because you get up in the morning and you put on a nice dry uniform, and it just feels like you're wearing wet clothes all day long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where you get trench foot and all that kind of stuff, because I guess after about 90 days, you start getting climatized and stuff like that to the temperature. But then you go through the winter and you got to start all over again. So every year it's just miserable anyway. And then when I was a drill sergeant, and you have to wear, you're not supposed to, but starched uniforms, and everything's got to be right. And all you have is a river of sweat going down your back through the crack of your butt. That's just miserable all day, and then you got swamp ass.
Well, and that was the thing that it blew my mind. Like when I first joined and got sent to Camp Lejeune, being on the coast, I thought I'd felt humidity in Michigan growing up. We were right by the Great Lakes. Like it stayed pretty humid.
Yeah.
No, the temperatures raised and the humidity raised. And when I first joined, we were still wearing the old like tricolors. It's before they went to all these digital patterns.
Right.
And you had to starch them. Well, it's the Marine Corps. You've got to look the nines all the time. So you're starching, you're pressing, it doesn't matter how late it is, you're going to iron everything out, make sure it's crisp and clean. And inside your barracks room or your home, where it's air conditioned, it looks great. You put it on and you're like, yeah, I'm crisp, I'm sharp. And then you walk out and it's soup sandwich. Just, you get to work and they're like, they start chewing you out because they're like, where'd you grab them? Out of the bottom of your sea bag? And I'm like, 10 minutes ago, before I came into work, they would stand up on their own.
Yeah.
But the humidity, and so I was kind of blessed that we had switched to the desert or the digital, because when we switched over to digitals, there was no more starching. They were a wash and wear, like wash them, hang them up so they don't look wrinkly, but you didn't need to starch them. Now there were people that still did it, and
once they came out with that. Remember that when they came out with that light uniform? It wasn't a cotton blend or anything like that. It was just really light. It was like a t-shirt. In the Army, we had those when they came out. I got rid of everything. That's all I ever
Army.
wore. Yeah.
The Marine Corps didn't get that. They're like, oh, how do we make you the most hottest, miserable person you can ever be? And yeah, oh, wait, it's the middle of summer. Cool. Put a wool sweater on for this inspection in the middle of the no-shaded quad.
We want to make sure it fits.
Yeah. I think the only time that I seen anything close to that was and I don't know what you guys called it. It was called frog gear, what you got for deployment.
Yeah.
And I know the Army had the same, where it was like a cotton polyester blend, just a plain t-shirt, and then it just had the uniform, the digital on the sleeve.
Yeah, those came out after I retired.
Yeah.
I never got to see those.
Yeah, because I know we did. Yeah, Iraq in 2003. So it was around 2003-ish is when the transition to the digital, I think, started, because the new Marines coming out of boot camp that showed up at the unit while we were deployed to Iraq in 2003 showed up in digitals. We were still wearing tricolors, and they actually had issued us the desert tricolors to go to Iraq. And I remember coming back, and the Marine Corps is very, very big about everybody being the same, right? Covered, aligned, uniform. We had like 5 different versions of uniforms in a formation when we came back from Iraq for probably 6 months, because of people. We had to do the whole transition of going from tricolor to the digitals. And of course, they were going to the recruits at boot camp first, and us active duty guys. We weren't like the Army where we could just go to supply and be like, hey, I need a new one of these. We
couldn't do that. I mean, it was, if something new came out, then they had a phase out date. And by that phase out date, because they issued you the original ones, you had to buy your replacements by a certain date. And they usually had 2 to 5 year replacement date set and stuff like that, because of course everybody bitched and complained and stuff like that. Because if you're wearing the same uniform for 5 years and you actually work in the military, I'm not saying that because you work behind a desk or whatever, you probably had one set of uniforms you could wear your whole career. But if you're out working and you're in the motor pool and this and that, or whatever you're doing, you're going to the field or deployments and stuff like that, a uniform is not going to last you 5 years. You know what I mean? Because you're going to get oil, you're going to get grease, you're going to rip them. Something's going to happen, So if you replaced them, you had to replace them with the new one by a certain year or an end date that they gave you. So I remember all that. Because when I came in, we had the pickle suits. It was OD green. That was it, And the only other uniform you could have was jungle fatigues. And the jungle fatigues was still that lighter uniform. But they wouldn't let you wear the light uniforms in the wintertime. You had to have the heavier ones for the wintertime. So, hey, let's say hello to some people in here before we get started. I see Jennifer Ocean's in here. Hello, Jennifer. And there's Rainy Ridge.
All right, I'm gonna roll up and we'll just work together.
All right, there's Neil S. here.
There's Judy Herman.
Hello, Judy.
Thanks for coming in.
There's my beautiful bride, Empty Homestead.
The ultimate sergeant major right there. Got Reverend Dream. Welcome in, brother. Always good to see you.
Yep, Webb's here.
And Ricky Smith.
There he is.
Veterans Landing. We that was nice. Got Ricky over to the ridge before we left for Tennessee. Yeah. And he was an amazing supervisor. He made sure we were all doing it right and made sure to I had to force him.
He had the skills to make sure you did it right.
And it was one of those that I kind of had to be like, look, I'm supposed to be the not so smart jarhead here. You need to move into the shade, buddy.
Yeah.
And he tried to be an ornery old coot, and finally I just grabbed his chair and moved him to the shade, and but got him some time on the tractor.
There you go. Hey, there's our sister Cookie. Lila Newton's here, representing the Navy.
I see Daniel Kearney. Says it's 85 in Tombstone right now.
Yeah, I love Tombstone area. I was down in Fort Huachuca, and the weekends was Tombstone for us. We loved it there.
I'm seeing the Peanut Farm.
There they are. She is.
Yeah. She got to just change the name. They're like Sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter, yeah. Hey, there's White Rock Nation.
My bride's in here. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble now.
All right. There's Ollie.
Ollie. So, Ollie is, I think for our last video that came out, Ollie was in the video where he's the one that him and his wife came, they're sold on RV Life.
Oh, yeah.
And they came and stayed at the Ridge, and Ollie is an Army medic.
Oh, there you go.
It was actually we're going to get him on here. I
use them quite a bit in the military.
He's got an awesome story, and I'm not going to tell everybody it. I'm going to make him come up one night on an open mic, and he's got to tell the story. But awesome guy. We met them down in Corpus Christi. Just a great couple. Always super fun to hang out with. It sucks that it took it was almost 2 years from when we met them to get to hang out again, and now we're going to make it a habit.
There's our friend over in the Philippines, Merns Pacquiao's here. Hello, Pacquiao. She's saying
hello,
good morning. Because it's morning in the Philippines. She's saying good morning, Mike and Jason.
Thank you, Pacquiao.
And thank you for sharing out Sergeant's Talk TV over there. There are some Filipino veterans over there that watch us also. Big difference between the militaries from different countries. Let's see.
We got R&F Firestone chickens.
Hey, she shared it out to the community. All right.
Yeah. So R&F is Frank. Or Frank here sent link to Sonny, will be on here shortly. Awesome.
All right, good. All right, let's see. There's Robert Firestone. That must be who they were talking about, right?
That must be Frank's son. So welcome in, Robert.
Welcome. Karen Brest is here. Hello, Karen. Let's see, Sergeant's Talk TV. This is from Neil S. When I was in the Seabees, we had the leftover Army greens before they switched to the camo. Well, you're welcome. I worked with the Seabees when, where were we? Oh, we were in when Saddam Hussein was gassing the Kurds with mustard agent, and they were all going into the Turkish mountains. The U.S. had an Operation Provide Comfort, and my aviation. I was with the Air Assault School at the 11th ACR in Fulda, Germany, and we got deployed out of Germany to that operation with 10th Special Forces and some British, and we were feeding like 1.7 million people up in the mountains. And
wow.
You're talking about it was crazy. And the Seabees were there. They were building base camps with the Air Force Red Horse teams, which is, dude, they're high-speed, low-drag engineers, construction engineers.
Okay.
And they were building the base camps and stuff like that because there was nothing out there. And we had to, the reason the Air Assault School we got deployed is we were sling loading all the food on Black Hawks. And when we first went in there, we were flying in, and I was a rappel master at the schoolhouse. And we were bringing stuff in, and I was making sure we had it on the ground and stuff like that. So we were landing. I had to get out and unhook. Okay. We had to unhook it. I had a static line because a Black Hawk has so much energy. And if you just touch it, it'll just like getting hit by a lightning bolt. And so we were doing that. Well, the first time we went out, we did the mission brief, all that kind of stuff. We went out there. All these people were just bum rushing us. Number one, to get to the food and trying to get on the helicopter and stuff like that.
Oh.
So we had to do the extenders. We'd set the sling, the bag, the big net, the sling load bag on the ground, and then we would release the hook from the inside and just leave the cargo net there. Well, what they were doing with the cargo nets was they were taking those, and wherever there was like a small little valley or whatever up in the mountains, they would stake the four corners and stuff, and families would sleep on these things. Dude, we went through an entire Army basic load of nets, and we were only like halfway through it, and they had to order more, and they were just producing them as fast as they could. So then we went out there.
Were they all netted, or were they on those?
No, they were netted. It was like MREs and stuff like that, and toiletries and all this stuff that we were taking out. You're talking 1.7 million people up in the mountains, and then the medics, dude, they brought in a whole battalion of them. That wasn't even enough to go in there because people were sick. People had died. They were just burying their people underneath where they were sleeping in these cargo nets, digging holes and burying their people there. because they
Oh
weren't going
wow.
back into Iraq. So it was a horrible thing. But we did that. We probably my unit we were there. I'm thinking 4 months, just constantly 3 times a day. I mean, hundreds of flights a day, just taking food to people because they had absolutely nothing. They were refugees up in the mountain. So yeah, that was a bad time. I seen that was some bad stuff. But let's see who else is in here. We hadn't said hello to.
Let's see. Tiffany at Canadian Family Life made it in,
All right. Hello,
and
Tiffany.
Arlene.
Hello, Arlene.
I threw a comment up there. Said Mike at MT. I had the opportunity to visit a gentleman in a veterans home last week. It was a humbling experience. It's a moment I won't soon forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And you know what?
yeah, that
Anybody can go there. Anybody can go to the shelters, the homeless shelters, to the veterans homes and stuff like that, and just volunteer your time just to sit there and let them talk to you and stuff like that. Um, if you have a homeless shelter, I don't care if it's for veterans or for people and stuff like that, volunteering your time to help the unfortunate is, I mean, you won't forget helping people like that.
yeah, I had actually not too long. I think I was still under my first contract while in the Marine Corps, maybe into the second one. I don't remember, but my one grandpa had gotten really, really sick, and he got put into a nursing home. Well, hey, Chris, and
Oh,
I
they're
finally
live
got.
right now?
Yeah, they go live the same time we do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've apologized to Amy, and she said it's okay. They're fine with it.
Okay.
But oh, there's Joe. Fix it for you. What up, brother Joey? Um, so yeah, Grandpa had went into a nursing home. Well, he had legally died, I think, 3 times, and they were able to bring him back.
What?
And yeah, um, no idea. Like he just said he wanted to be around longer, I guess.
Yeah.
So I arranged and got leave to come home, and I had Grandpa, you know, I want to say he served. I can't remember exactly, but he had never seen me in my uniform, and that was one thing that we had talked about ever since I was even talking about joining. Was he'd love to see me in uniform. So I said I've got to do it. We're home. I've got my uniform. So I put my dress blues on and I went to this nursing home. It took me almost 2.5 hours to get from the front door to his, because all these other veterans and that was my first experience of
Yeah.
dealing with like veterans in that situation. I'm all of maybe 20, maybe 21. I don't even know if I was, 21 yet, just a kid. But I walked in my dress blues in the nursing home, and I'm like, and in the moment, I'm like, this is the worst decision I've ever made. Like, I'm never going to get back to see my grandpa, because I can't not stop and talk to these vets, because they're like, oh, a Marine, like the light on their face seeing you come in, you could not talk to them. And we got done. I finally made it back, talked to Grandpa, ran into a few more people coming out. And I remember that day because when it was done, like I said, in the moment, I was mad. I was like, I just want to go see my grandpa.
Right. Right.
Never pieced it together. A couple days later, I get out of there and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I am disgusting. Like, how could you feel bad about talking to these vets? And it was a trigger at that point. Like, I was like, nope, you've got to go in. And I made a point to go to a few more times to different places. And when I have time, I try to go in and, just talk. just let them go in. You know, of course, now I don't go in uniform, but you go in and talk to them, like, and that could mean the world because they might not talk
Sure.
to anybody outside of that facility in months.
Yeah, I was reading Neil S. He said when he was over there during the Desert Storm, he was part of a team that did a ship-to-shore fuel pump, 12-hour shifts on pump barge. We pumped 600,000 gallons. Yeah, hey, I'm going to tell you something. When I was in Desert Storm, I was with the 4th Aviation Squadron with 11th ACR. And because I was with at the Air Assault School there, aviation, squadron, air assault, it all goes together. So when we deploy, I was a gunner on the S3's Black Hawk. Okay. And so I got to see the whole war from the air. Okay. Which was like really cool. And you got to places really quick, right? The bottom bad part about it was when you go back, filling the bullet holes in, you know, because I believe that not only the enemy was shooting at us, right? So, but when we went over there, the poor bastards that were at the FARP sites, you know, forward fuel sites in the middle of nowhere. I mean, they just drop them off with those big 500-gallon blivets. They send out like dozers, and they make a berm around this whole thing and a landing pad. And we go in there for hot fuel. We had them all mapped out. We'd go in there for hot fuel so we could keep flying and stuff like that. But those poor fuelers out there, oh my God, they're in the middle of nowhere. You know, and all they got is MREs, and I don't know their rotation in and out and stuff like that. But yeah, that's got to be a sucky life. You know, you think you're going to be a fueler and you're on a Hemet fueler and stuff like that. Then they stick you out in the middle of the desert to roast, you know, like a pig, you know, out there in the middle of the sun, 140.
Staring at a big fuel bladder.
Yeah, exactly. When you go back, you know, you're going, oh yeah, it was so rough. And then you go out there and you see these poor guys. And we went out there. It was like Dawn of the Living Dead. These guys were dirty, fuel. I mean, you know what fuel mist and stuff like that, dirt just adheres to it. And these guys look like pig pens. I mean, those poor bastards out there. That was crazy. Hey, if you've got or you have somebody that has served in the military, they could be a veteran now. They could still be serving right now, and we thank them for their service. Please, I wanted to start something. When you come in, just put down hashtag salute their name and the branch or the service that they're in, Army, Navy, Marines, whatever. Just to, you know, so we put a name and give honor to those people that have served or who are serving right now. If you got a grandson, a granddaughter, whatever it is that's serving right now, just hashtag salute and then their name and whoever they're serving with right now. I'd appreciate that. That'd be a good way to honor them each time we come in here. So, all right. Hey, there's Hat Creek, my favorite female Marines here. She is here. And I'm telling you something. If you knew her MOS, she's a smart cookie. Don't let her fool you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to look at it and be like, hey, you know, the homesteader living a very simple life, but when she was in the Marine Corps, it was like
high speed, low drag.
And it makes more sense. I mean, I look at it now to, you know, even when I was in the Marine Corps, to live the simpler life of a homesteader.
Yeah.
Not a lazy lifestyle by any means, but simple to where you don't have to be tied into everything. It makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. Judy Herman says I worked at the post office at a veterans home, met some sweet veterans that came in to get their mail. something or mail something out. Very satisfying job. Yeah. Anytime you can help people, it's worth it. And then Dawn is sitting there saying she's cooking, you know, 1 minute, you know, Dawn's doing great things for her nation, serving in the Marine Corps. And now every time she comes in here, she's cooking something for somebody. Now, I don't know if she says Marine Corps was better or taking care of all them kids is better. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I think the Marine Corps helped her handle.
There you
Now
go.
she kind of knows how to wrangle the herd.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, how do I deal with all these crayon eating? Wait a minute, I was one of them. This is simple. Like, form a line, let's go.
She said, Big Mike, you got to embrace the suck.
Yeah.
That is true. Let's see, what's Neil S. say? We were on a MPF ship. I don't know what that is.
MPF are the ones that they send, so they load up their. I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but the MPFs are the ones that they preload them for a conflict, and they send all the gear, equipment, all this stuff from the States on a ship over. They've got supplies, vehicles, ammo, everything that they don't want to fly or they can't fly.
So it's like a floating POMCA ship where they store everything. Because the military all over the world, we got these things called POMCA sites. And like if you go to the Netherlands, because in the Netherlands, all the ships will come into the Netherlands if there was a war in Europe. So the POMCA site is up there. And it's got like a division, 2 divisions worth of tanks, Bradleys, everything is, and we have those stored all over the freaking world in case there's a conflict. And then that's our backup to unload.
Yeah, and on the Marine Navy side, they do the MPF to where it's not physically stationed in a country, but they have them preloaded in certain ports. And at a moment's notice, this stuff is going to launch. Like we used all the MPF ships when we'll go back to like when we went to Iraq in 2003. They weren't going to fly all the tanks over there. So they loaded them on MPF ships, shipped them over there. Of course, it left a little earlier because, everything's planned. And then the rest of us as crew and maintenance, we flew over, and then you have to go to the port and do a whole operation to get them off the ships. And but they can take a mass quantity of equipment and transport it from military prepositioning ship. Ollie's got me. All right.
Yeah, hey Judy, you can if you want to, or you can save one for each week or whatever you want to do. That's fine. Lindy Okie says, salute USMC Philip Holmes. TNT's in here. TNT Adventure. Tracy's here. And Lila Newton says, salute United States Air Force Matthew Newton. All right. There's Terry Treat. She's in here. Says hashtag salute Army David Anthony. All right. And RNF Firestone Chicken says salute Robert Firestone. And I believe he is in the chat. So thank you for your service, Robert.
And they did 2 down. He said he's Navy. So thank you for being in, Robert.
Salute U.S. Navy Lila Newton, a.k.a. Cookie. And Big Daddy Firestone was Navy. Oh, is her son's Navy?
I think his son is Navy.
Okay,
he
just put Army.
Hit enter before.
Yeah.
Ricky Smith. Had his exam for an increase yesterday. Awesome. Hopefully they get that for you, brother.
Is he using your guy?
No, he's actually going through. So my guy, and I'm still waiting on some word back. I gotta link up. He is wicked busy right now. I actually got a text message today or yesterday. I think it was this morning. He's so backlogged that some of the people I've been referring are like, "Is he ever going to answer me?" He will. It's going to take some patience because he's trying to figure out. At this point, he's trying to figure out how can he. He's got people lined up that want to work for him and help.
Yeah.
But what does that look like adding employees? And
I got work for it.
Yeah, and that's what I told him. I said, dude, you better get yourself ready because we talk about it all the time. Well, I'm sending all kinds of people your way. Like, quit goofing off. Pull your head out of your A. Hey, snap to it, Marine. Let's go.
Salute
Devil Dog
Army
made it
Reserve Lamar Knight Jr. Salute Navy Lamar Knight Sr. All right.
Got two of them. Awesome.
Let's see. Salute to my dad, Gilbert Herman. His brother, Albert Herman, both Army. And then Devil Dog said, I'm going through a law firm that a guy I was stationed with works for. There you go. All right. So, hey, let's get into this, okay? Guys, tonight we're going to be discussing major changes to the VA that'll affect millions of veterans out there, okay, that don't even know they're affected by this yet, okay? I mean, if they do, that's great. If they don't, hopefully we can spread the news on this. The VA just announced that all veterans who were exposed to toxins and other hazards while serving our nation in the military, both at home and abroad, meaning being deployed, are now eligible for VA health care. Okay? They blew this out of the water. And this is how Tim at Ridge Life got in. If you go to his place and he talked to you how he got registered for VA healthcare with his local VA. Okay. So guys, this is important and we're going to tell you who is affected by this.
Yeah. And so, you kind of wonder, right? Part of why who can call on this? Well, any veteran who served in Vietnam War, the Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan, the global war on terror, or any other combat zone after 9/11 are eligible to enroll in VA healthcare without first applying for VA benefits.
That's the key, guys.
The key is the 9/11. After 9/11, if you served in any conflict zone.
Yeah. Additionally, veterans who never deployed but were exposed to toxins or hazards while training or on active duty, okay, while on active duty in the United States are eligible to enroll. So what kind of hazards are we talking about here?
Yeah, so Devil Dog says it right here. Hey, who was not affected by toxins in the military?
That is true.
I'm pretty sure on my enlistment contract, I had to sign some sort of waiver before I even went that said, hey, you're going to be exposed to asbestos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've ate that stuff for lunch. Air pollutants such as the burn pits, right? We all know about those. Big piles of trash. They dug a hole, you threw it in there, and some sorry sucker had to light it on fire, but we all huffed it in. Sand, dust, particulates, oil well fires, and sulfur fires.
Now, here's the thing, guys. If, let's say you were over in the desert stuff, they got these things called I want to call them haboobs or habibs or whatever the heck those big sandstorms are. We used to get those in Arizona once in a great while. They would come in and they get everything, and you breathe. I don't care. You could put a cloth over your mouth. You could do whatever. That stuff is so fine that you're going to breathe it in. Okay. So if your unit was in an area, the VA knows. They've documented all these things. So if you were in one of those, if you were deployed or whatever, if you were in Fort Irwin, California, okay, and they had one out there, because I was there when they had one, or you're in convoys from 29 Palms at the railhead, 40 miles into Fort Irwin, California, you're breathing in dust, okay? You got your dust goggles on, you got your bandana, you're still breathing the stuff in. They're talking about air pollutants, okay? Let's say you are a crew chief on a Black Hawk. What are you breathing in every single day? Okay? Jet fuel, right? Because that's what they use. All right? JP4. All right? So you're breathing that stuff in. You're a mechanic, and what are you breathing in every single day when you're at the motor pool? Okay? You probably got used to it, but you breathe it in every single day. Those are the things, and you don't even know that it's happening to you, okay? The other things that they're talking about are chemicals such as pesticides, herbicides, depleted uranium with embedded shrapnel, and contaminated water, okay? If you're a tanker, you know what depleted uranium rounds are like. They had a big thing after Desert Storm. People were affected by casings and stuff like that that had leaking depleted uranium and stuff like that. Or if they were checking out vehicles that, took a sharp one in the ass in, and they're checking for survivors and stuff like that, and it got hit by a depleted uranium round, trust me, those are the things you want to do. If you were in Vietnam, when they sprayed the jungles, okay, you all heard of Agent Orange and stuff like that, they're affected by it also, okay? And people don't realize is they sprayed the military bases too, okay?
Yeah.
And part of that, if you read deeper into the reg, like down south, when I was at Fort McClellan, Alabama, every summer they went around and they sprayed. They had these vehicles that just at night while you were sleeping, they would spray this fog or mist all over everything to kill the mosquitoes and stuff like that. Guys, and then the next day you're crawling in the weeds and you're out on the PT field and you're getting it on you and stuff like that. So those are some of the things they're talking about.
Yeah. And then, of course, with your everyday job, right, you got your occupational hazards. We don't get to use brand new equipment. It's stuff that's been repainted for several decades and handed back to us. So a lot of that stuff, and to make it fire resistant and sometimes fire retardant, they use asbestos.
Yeah.
Industrial solvents, lead, paints including chemicals, chemical agent resistant coating, and firefighting foams. So the firefighting foam, right? That one almost ranks up there right now with a commercial level of, hey, if you weren't in the Navy for firefighting foam, then you had to be at Lejeune and drank the horrible water. But
like
those
when we deployed to Desert Storm, when we first got there, they came out with these 5-gallon buckets of Cark paint. Okay. Cark paint. All right. Which is, they found out to be cancerous later and stuff like that. They gave us a little paper mask and we were painted. We had Cark paint on us. We were like 2-year-olds.
Oh
yeah, we had a little paper mask. The medics
we didn't get a mask.
And cork paint is what is it? Carcinogenic?
Yeah.
Carcinogenic? Yeah, that's
Or
what it is. And stuff like that. So if you did that, dude, VA healthcare. Okay. The other things are radiation, such as nuclear weapons. That's where Tim, he worked on a nuclear sub, and that was his job, such as nuclear weapons, handling, maintenance, and detonation, radioactive materials, calibration. Now, there's a lot of people don't realize that some of the night vision scopes have radioactive sites inside of them, and people didn't know that at the time. Measurement devices and sources, X-rays, radiation from military occupational exposures, meaning you dealt with it every single day in your job. You qualify for VA healthcare now.
And then there's the warfare agents, right? Nerve agents, chemical, biological weapons. Not, I don't know. It's one of those maybe not so recent, but they're obviously back. You know, I know they talked about there was a lot of stuff that was the nerve agents and stuff that especially biological weapons.
Yeah,
we were trained and prepared for it. We didn't experience it, but that's where it goes back to, which of course it would end up being before 9/11 though. So I wonder how that works.
Yeah, well, when we were in Iraq, we were finding these bunkers out in the middle of the desert, right? And the engineers came in there and they planted charges of stuff to blow up the bunkers. Well, what they didn't realize through proper inspections, because they didn't want to go inside of it because it could be booby trapped or whatever, and I get that. Well, when they did it, they blew up this bunker and it was full of tank rounds, right? Full of tank rounds, small arms, yada, yada, yada. So they were taking care of this bunker. Well, what they didn't know, and they brought the Fox vehicles in afterwards, and they were all buttoned up. And a Fox vehicle is a chemical, biological, and nuclear test vehicle where they test for different levels of all those agents and stuff like that. It went in. I guess somewhere in there, they had mustard agent rounds in the bunkers that they were doing. They blew up their first one. It went off the chart. Okay. It went off the chart. All right. All next thing you know is we heard flash, flash, flash. When you hear flash, 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 you're donning a mask and putting your mop suit on. Okay, guys?
Yeah.
3 times or 3 things banging together. Anything in threes, you put your mask on, right? And yeah, they didn't blow up no more bunkers after that.
You know, and now that you mentioned that, I guess that's where that could qualify is, you know, thinking about it, where we go to Afghanistan, right? Post 9/11, going into Afghanistan, we're still in danger of the Russian landmines and whatever was put out from the 80s.
Yeah.
When, you know, Russia tried to invade Afghanistan. So that would make sense. Because I mean, I was reading it and trying to go through it. I'm like, none of that had happened post 9/11, but it could, because that instance, like you said,
yeah,
all these old Russian or, you know, any generation really, but that's the ones that come to mind is all those Russian munitions that were left after that invasion.
Well, see, the Taliban and all them, they learned a lot from the Russians because they kicked the Russians' ass too, remember? Way back when. And the Russians said, man, yeah, we're not going to go. These guys aren't worth it to us, right? Because one of their tactics were to put GB underneath an anti-tank mine. And what they do is, and people, I've heard stories about that. We go down that road. We went down that road 3 or 4 times, and we didn't see no dig marks or nothing like that. What the Russians, one of their thing is to stack TMM-1 anti-tank mines. And they'll put 2, 3, or whatever in the ground with a counter on top, okay? Which means a vehicle ran over it, right? And they could set it for 50, 100, whatever. And every time it gets ran over, it clicks down. It clicks down until that poor son of a gun, number 100 or whatever the number was, rolls over it, and it blows off the whole back. Because we were in Bosnia, and they used to go down this road. They were making, the engineers we had, they were going down this road, and all of a sudden, when they got down that road, they set up a hasty fighting position area, and they were waiting on the armor to come in to pull security for them while they were clearing landmines and stuff like that, right? With their Scheibel suits, mine rollers, and stuff like that. Well, all of a sudden, all these trucks started coming down this road. And they go, oh, shoot, man, why didn't we take that road? They came in from a different direction. And all of a sudden, they were coming through, and it was like 3/4 of their convoy went through, and a Bradley, when I say the whole ass end of a Bradley was gone, it took it out, right? And as soon as that happens, you don't know, because one of their tactics is to put GB nerve agent in those TMM-1s. So when it goes off, it burns the gas and it comes out. And a GB is a non-persistent, means it don't stay very long. The wind takes it away, it thins out. A VX is a long-lasting one, and it's more of an oil base and stuff like that, and it off-gasses and stuff. So that's what they did. And I'm going, all of a sudden I hear this on the radio. I'm going, are you freaking kidding me? Well, the good thing is the infantry that was doing this for us were the Germans. They were pulling security. Okay. I said, whew, man, that would have been a whole lot of paperwork, but it happened in the U.S. sector of Bosnia along the zone of separation. So, yeah, it's crazy. So those are the
real quick. I see that Annabor made it in.
Yeah. Hello, Annabor.
And Tamara Smith said she's, I guess the storms are kind of starting to pop in there in North Carolina, right there at Hubert, Camp Lejeune area. So yeah, they're watching us on 1.75 speed because they came in late. So
okay,
they get it.
There are additional toxins and hazards, and for a more accurate and up-to-date information, visit www.publichealth.va.gov/exposure, and I put that in the description also, so you guys can look at that. The VA healthcare, all that stuff is down in the description.
Yeah, and so with a lot of that said, and like Mike said, it's down in the description for you guys to look this up, because if you served or somebody that served on active duty for training, so typically a reservist, right? They go on active duty to train, or inactive duty training, and were exposed to any of the previously mentioned toxins or hazards, we encourage you to enroll in the VA healthcare today, guys.
Oh, yeah.
You need to get them in. I mean, that was one of our big pushes. If you watch a lot of what we're doing on our videos, is getting you enrolled, or getting your veteran, whatever their relationship to you is, getting as many veterans into the VA and getting those services that most of them have spent their life outside of the service with no treatment for these at all.
Yeah.
So we need to get in there. Like they're opening up these programs, and this one here, I was actually telling Mike before we came on camera that I went to register for one of the burn pit registries when I first retired. My doctor that I had seen was like, "Hey, didn't you serve? Weren't you by a burn pit thing?" And I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." And I started going through that initial process because it was such a limited, select people you had to have down to the minute almost of where you were at
Yeah.
location wise to get registered.
Yeah.
That's all gone. Like if you can show proof that you served during this time in this area and it's on, your military records, you know, get that veteran, get yourself, whoever
Yeah.
it is, get into the VA and get health care for that.
Yep.
No
Now
sense
they
in
have
paying
that
out of
thing.
pocket.
They have the thing when you call the VA, no matter what, you have to listen to this recording about the PACT Act.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Big Mike applied for the PACT Act because I was around all that stuff, right? But here's what they don't tell you. Okay. Just because you are around it, okay, doesn't mean that you suffered any kind of health issues from it. Okay. It says, hey, if you were exposed, contact and register for the PACT Act and we'll pay you for this and stuff. Well, that's what Big Mike did. I said, well, okay, let me check this out. Went and did it. They said, you know what? We don't see nothing now. Sorry you were around it. You were stirring poop in a 55-gallon cut drum.
That was
You
a
were
great
around
time.
oil well fires. You worked on helicopters and breathed in jet fuel and all this other garbage, and you were exposed to carc paints and all this stuff, but you're not sick now. So you get nothing. Okay. But they did pay me for the mileage to go to all the appointments for them to tell me that you don't qualify for this. Now, it's kind of like if you dip snuff, right? And let's say you dip snuff and you get mouth cancer. Okay. Um, was it the snuff that gave you it? It triggered it, but were you predispositioned for cancer anyway?
Right.
Okay. So some people were affected by it because it was that precursor that triggered it in their body and stuff like that. And some people don't get cancer, right? You can smoke and you don't get cancer. Person smokes for 5 years, gets cancer, lung cancer, whatever. Okay. That's why everybody was going and getting tested for those markers and stuff like that. If you're especially like breast cancer and stuff like that, people were getting tested and they said, I don't want to go through that. So they did whatever they thought was best for their health. And it's the same thing with this. And when I went to the PACT Act doctors and stuff like that, the one nurse says, she goes, I know this is a bunch of running around and doing this and doing that. Because I was complaining. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you got to do. And she goes, our job truly is to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a company called QTC.
QTC.
And their job, they're contracted by the VA to prove you wrong. It's something like a $6.2 billion contract they got with the VA. And they can send you there for anything. And their job is to prove you wrong.
The crazy part about that company, and I know quite a bit about that company because actually I found out they were giving a lot more services to veterans because of QTC, right? And I found out about them because my ex-wife and my ex-father-in-law at the time was a Vietnam vet, and he had all kinds of medical conditions, and a lot of it started in Vietnam. But because he came back and he didn't retire. He did one contract, got out, came back, and he just had to live with it. And got regular employment and moved on. And she started working at QTC, And I'm like, oh, this is a great company. Well, then I started investigating a little bit more as to what it was. And conveniently, they have an office at or near, very near, to about every military installation in the U.S.
Yeah.
Because they are the primary source for VA processing.
For CMPs.
Right, for the CMP exams.
Yeah.
And if they can, they make their money from the VA by not getting a full rating. And it makes it aggravating as a service member, or even a family member of trying to go through it. And then you find out that, well, we're here to prove you wrong. Of you can't do this. And I did my initial exams to see if with QTC, but I also had an outside doctor source that I went to, and they had to collaborate, and they couldn't argue with that third-party doctor.
Yeah.
So what their findings were became null and void. The third-party doctor kind of overrode it.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump up a comment. So, Tamara, salute. Staff Sergeant Stephen R. Smith, USMC, retired.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be her husband. And, yeah, Tamara, I know you've been on here a lot and being in tanks. So that was something I was going to mention tonight was every single symptom or thing that could trigger, and I know, Mike, you probably have been exposed. I know for sure, being in tanks, I was exposed to every single thing that we talked about tonight. Like, as we're going through it, and I'm like, what? But it's not about, like, I'm not getting any of the symptoms. I remember a story early on where we had operators that were taught that the FRH, the hydraulic oil that runs everything in the tank, that could be cancerous and it can cause paralysis. Well, the minute they heard about paralysis, now as a mechanic and the maintainer, we took baths in this stuff because you had to fix it. So It was like you got soaked in it. And I watched, young operators, and especially lieutenants, freak out for getting a little bit of oil on them, and they're like, no, we got to go hazmat, decon. There's some of those things that it's kind of like the warning on cigarettes, right? Or a warning on a can of chew. Hey, this can cause cancer. This might do this. If you have predetermining factors, I literally have been soaked from head to toe in hydraulic oil for multiple hours while working on something. I had no problems producing 4 children, and I have no signs or symptoms of cancer. Like the 2 things that they said was going to cause, or a reaction of that FRH. But if you get on these lists, sign up for these services, you might not have a symptom. Like, I've been exposed to every single thing that was put on these lists tonight, and I don't have any symptoms that they say that I should have, but I'm registered so that when I do develop those symptoms in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 40 years, or even if I don't, at least it's no, sorry, I seen a comment. At least it's in the system, and that's what's the biggest key, is getting your name in that system.
It's like Camp Lejeune water. The people that were sick years ago, and nothing, they never got anything. And then now, years later, they said, hey, we were poisoning your ass. Now you're getting paid for it. There might be people dead. You're not getting no money for it because, hey, we waited too long. And it takes a long time to sue the federal government. It is not. They wait you out and wait you out and wait you out. Okay, so
Well,
So
and that's,
my pet peeve.
yeah, jumping back for a minute, like we did go through QTC and got my father-in-law in there, and they got him into doctors that he wouldn't have normally been able to see on his disability health care, because he had no VA benefits. Well, we got him registered, we got him in there, and he got into some specialists because he had a lot of pain. 8 weeks from the day they had told us that by time they had found it, he had stage 4 cancer through his entire body.
Yeah.
8 weeks from the day that they told us that we were having his funeral.
Yeah.
And that's what they rely on is, hey, we're going to have this stuff in there. We're hoping that they'll die before we have to pay out or something, or, because even the Camp Lejeune thing, and I'm going to tell you, I think the cutoff is what, 85, something like that, or I didn't even get to Lejeune until May of '99, and I'm going to tell you that water was no better then than it was in '85.
Yeah.
And even living off post, like I lived in an apartment for 2.5 years, and that water that came out was almost reddish brown as this hot sauce. And I would take it down to the water department that sent us a letter every month saying, we tested your water in your facility and it's good. And I took a jar down there and set it down and I said, you drink it. Well, we don't know where you got it. My kitchen sink, that's where I got it from. Like, you come test the water in my apartment and tell me that it's, and so like I don't even qualify for the Lejeune water deal, but they suing the government. They're gonna hope you pass out or pass away before they can actually
Yeah, they do have that too, the high blood pressure and the irritable bowel syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. So Annabore, I'm gonna jump back a minute. Annabore had put on there about diabetes related to service, type 1 adult onset after serving. My husband and dad are in the situation, and many others I know. So,
have you eaten the mess hall? The mess hall will give you diabetes.
Yeah.
If you've never eaten in a mess hall, sorry, Cookie. I'm just saying, if you like me, when I first went in, I had a meal cart and a cot. I had 3 hots and a cot, right? And I ate all 3 meals every single day in the mess hall for years upon years and upon years, And when you're young, you're packing it in. You don't give a crap, I could eat a pound of food and lose 3 pounds. Ain't like that no more, right? I eat 8 ounces and I gain 3 pounds. But is there a correlation with eating like that every single day, eating MREs year in and year out for your whole career? I don't know. Okay. I don't know. But the VA will generously give you every medication they can give you for it without saying, oh, this is a disability. You know what I'm saying? So there's got to be something there if they're willing to pay out millions and millions of dollars in diabetes medicine for veterans.
Yeah, and it's the only diabetes experience that I know frequently and I know of fondly. One of my Marine buddies, we had took a road trip together. My wife at the time, his wife, we went, and I bet it was every 25, 30 minutes this dude had to stop and you go to the bathroom. Now, he probably weighed $135 at the time. Well, then he turned around and, the mess hall was the exposures. he actually had to fight because he got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes while in the Marine Corps. They were going to medically separate him.
Yeah.
And he fought. Actually, his parents got a hold of, because he's originally from Arkansas, so his parents got a hold of the it was either one of the senators or governors, something in Arkansas, and he did get awarded a retirement for it, but he got diagnosed while on active duty, and he got retired, so he's getting it. A post one, I think that's honestly, and I guess if we haven't said it before, we'll say it tonight, is you getting a diagnosis from the VA isn't necessarily whether you actually have a condition, how severe it is. It's how that doctor that is examining you words it to the VA.
Yeah.
If it is written correctly with the right words and the right terminology, then you can get that diagnosis.
Right.
But if they don't word it properly, and I think that's where some of these outside companies that some of us have started using, and trying to go other sources, they're able to learn that forbidden language that nobody else knows but the VA.
Right. Why do you think those guys that used to work for the VA, right, as caseworkers and looking over your paperwork and all that stuff, are doing so? Look on YouTube and just put VA in there and see how many people has a channel with 100,000 or more followers. They used to work for the VA as caseworkers, okay, to read your paperwork. They knew all the languages, all the 601s and 622s and all this other stuff. They know that stuff and why they're doing so well. And why do they have their own firm on the outside to get you your benefits?
Yeah.
They're making more money than working for the VA. Or like this one guy I watch all the time, he retired from the VA as a caseworker, 20 years. And now he's over here with 503,000 people paying the bills on YouTube. You see what I'm saying? He goes out and gives seminars on this stuff. I ask him questions and he emails me and gives me my answers and stuff like that. It's just, it's such a racket. Bad. And I think that Congress has caught on to the VA, because right now, all these channels of these guys who used to work for the VA, they're talking about Congress now. Somebody flipped the switch on Congress and they're going, whoa, you are screwing the veterans. More to follow.
Yeah. And I think, Ollie had said it earlier on there, was the more that we talk about this, the more people we get into the VA to where they're seeing symptoms that they didn't want to acknowledge. I think Tamara had put on there was like, her husband's records, military records, said, in big red letters, asbestos, and they're going to throw you into it, and now they're getting held liable. And the more of us that we can get to create that voice and influence Congress and all the powers to be, that are going to make it. Because, it reminds me a lot of my first experience at my very first VA clinic when I retired.
Yeah.
And I went home to it, and I went in there, and they were so blatantly obvious, without saying the words, but their actions, their character, the way they talk to you, you were there wasting their time. They had something better to do than to be there, which was their job to serve veterans, is what I assumed because they worked at a veterans hospital.
Right.
But there was no more of a hindrance to those employees at that facility than a veteran walking in the door and asking for help, or asking them to do their job. And they're like, well, no, I just need to show up here, play solitaire on my computer, collect, a $50,000-$60,000 a year check and go home.
Yeah.
What do you mean I have to do work? What do you mean I have to look?
Yeah.
And I think there's so many more of us now that are going in and having symptoms and having problems, and it's getting to that level where they can't just ignore us.
Right.
The more we put a voice, they're going to keep hearing it, and they can't just keep drowning it out because it's constantly beating. And getting more veterans at the VA clinic, knowing we need more clinics, we need more staff, we need more services. Yeah. They're not going to have a choice.
So, hey guys, remember you can enroll by simply calling 1-800-MY-VA-411 or go online to www.va.gov/health-care or by visiting the VA medical facility near you, or you can mail a copy of your enrollment form directly to the VA. Additional details, like we said as we're going along, all this detail that we've talked about on who to contact, how to contact them, is all down in the description, and we made it easy for you so you can go on there, check it out. If you have not enrolled in VA healthcare and one of these things falls into your purview of what you did in the military and stuff like that, and a lot of times, I mean, like on my DD Form 214, it says my combat deployments on there. It says, where I've been stationed or whatever in a hostile fire environment and stuff like that. It's on my DD 214. Or if you've got medical records, I have a portfolio. It's about this thick, and it has all my promotions, all my NCOERs, annual evaluations. It has all my orders, all my deployment orders, all my ribbons, my awards. It has my entire military career is in this binder. And I can
I love the book.
I can flip to that, pull it out and say, here, I was in that combat zone right there. And they go, oh, okay, you've got military order. They can't dispute that.
Yeah.
Okay. And stuff like that. Or before I got out, I got a copy of my military health records. And I got a copy of that before, because my VA counselor, when I did it, he told me, get a copy of your medical records. He goes, because you know how hard it is to get that later on. So I did that. Now, what I didn't do was ask my doctor in Colorado when I had my back surgery, can I have a copy of all the paperwork to include my MRI disc? I should have done that, right? Because TRICARE paid for that because I waited so long with the VA. I had 2 herniated discs. I had all kinds of stuff. I was tore up from the floor up, and I didn't do that. Shoulder surgery, this one in Korea, I didn't get the paperwork for it, but I've got all the exam stuff for that. So I got to request that. Then I had this one done here in Oklahoma, and that's easy enough to get over here. But if something happens to you and it's on your paperwork from the VA, always, before you move or do anything, get all your medical records, get a copy of all that stuff. Now they put it all on disc for you.
Yeah.
You can get all your MRIs, you can get all that stuff from the hospital, and they'll put it all on there, and you can just say, hey, put that in another sleeve, okay? Because you never know when you're going to need that information. And if you've got kids in the military, or you've got a spouse in the military, or you got a cousin in the military, whatever, you need to tell them. You need to tell them, make sure. Like with UPCS, permanent change of station, They give you, you got to go sign for your medical records. You got to hand carry it with you. Make a copy of that damn thing before you turn it back in. You know what I'm saying? Because people don't realize while they're in the military, oh, I don't want to go to, if I go on sick call, blah, blah, blah. They don't understand what happens later on, because what you do at 20 dictates what you're going to feel like at 40. Okay? And what you do at 40 is you're going to be like Big Mike at 60, tore it from the floor up, you know, with a broken kickstand. All right. So that's what you got to remember. And that's what you got to tell your kids, your grandkids, and everything like that. Be smart about your future. Okay. But guys, I hope we gave you some good information tonight. Again, check out those websites if you want to get more information, detailed information, and how to apply for VA healthcare. It's down in the description, guys. So, hey, guys, I'm glad you're in here. Remember, share this out with people. Tell them about our channel. If you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us grow. I think we're getting close to 800.
It was really close. I looked at it before the live, and yeah, we're really close to the 800 mark. And
yeah. So, and if you don't know why we're excited about this, is because once we get monetized, every dime that we make is going to the Veterans Homeless Shelter here in McAlester, Oklahoma, where I live. It's just going to help them out because they're struggling for donations and stuff like that. And I just want to do something for them. This has nothing to do with Big Mike or Jason. This is about the people who watch us and the people that we can help in the future. And that's why we're doing this channel, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Remember, be kind to one another. Help somebody in need. And always, always think of that. Hey, and if you haven't checked out White Rock Homestead, please go over there and check out their channel. They're doing great things. And if you haven't heard of MT Homestead, that's me and Miss Terry over here in Oklahoma. And we'd appreciate if you guys come over and check out these.
Big Mike's retired now, so he's going to be loading all kinds of videos like
that nobody watches. That nobody watches. I post a short about my dogs, 10,000 views.
Yeah.
I post a video with me and my dog together, 1,000 views. I got to stay off the camera, guys. That's sad,
it. Channel's just, hey, now it's going to be T Homestead. We're just,
just T Homestead. Yeah. or Freya and Loki Channel TV or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, guys, thanks for coming in. Remember, share us out. Tell people about us. If you have a subject you want us to talk about, we will research it. Please, our emails are in the description also. Just give us an email and tell us, hey, I'd like to know more about this or whatever. Or you'd like to be on there. I know we got to work. I got to work on Webb's Web, on doing a live with him, bringing him up, and we can tell him about his career and stuff like that. It would be great if we could do a video on stuff, but we all don't live in the same remote area and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to do, but we'd like to bring him up. I will contact him and work on that. Friday, I go in for my first visit for my hip replacement. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you informed.
Praying for good news, brother. Praying for good news.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for coming in. We love you guys. And we'll see you on next week at the same time, same bat channel. There you go. All right, brother. We'll talk to you later. And good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.